The full blood-red moon flooded the sky with its light and colored it. The battle that was illuminated by that month turned out to be no less bloody and brutal. The guy was sitting on a mountain of bodies on an improvised throne made of bones and swords. When he heard someone shout out his name, he thought it was what everyone called him. He laughed and asked if I was serious. Couldn't you have come up with something cooler? Wang Yuan? He thought that it had been a long time since he had heard anyone call him by his first name and smiled again. There is only one person on the entire continent of Uranus who calls it that, and that's him, the guardian of the holy temple of Jin Yao An. The guard turned to Wang Yuan and ordered him to stop. He emphasized that he could still do it. He called Yao An his brother and said that he was as kind as ever. And then he added that if he hadn't saved him in the past, he was afraid he wouldn't have been able to kill all those people. When Yao An said his name, he interrupted and said that he was a real bastard. And he suggested that if he didn't like him, Yao An could come over and finish him off. The guy emphasized that no matter how many times he died, he would never stop. Releasing the fiery energy of his sword, he said that it didn't matter if he was a player named Wang Yuan. And then the final boss of this continent, Asura, was added as a character in the game. Rushing to attack Yao An and his army, he said that it was just a mission he had to fulfill. Before the big battle begins, perhaps we should start this story differently. This was way before he became a guy named Wang Yuan. This whole story began on the continent of Uranus in the 5th Holy Temple. When he opened his eyes for the first time, he had the feeling that he had been looking at this picture for a very, very long time. He wondered why he had only just noticed it, the existence of this picture and his own existence, his name and skills, what form he would take when he had enough health points. It was as if he was born with this knowledge. He also knew that he was in his temple on the continent of Uranus, and in general he knew that he was the king of this entire continent. But there is something else here, and this something is very important. He headed for the exit. When he left his castle, he stopped in front of the stairs and looked up. Here he and his subordinates are waiting for the players to arrive, and their duty is to make them happy. The king received a message that he is a king and this is his mission, and he asked permission from this Almighty to teach him how to fulfill his duties. Then the king asked who the Almighty was. Then a new message appeared saying that he was the inspiration behind the game and his mentor. The king laughed and said it was a good joke. He asked if a king like him needed someone to teach him. The new notification said that it looked like he needed to show it. Suddenly the king felt that he could not control the movements of his body. It was not listening to him, so he asked what he had done. His so-called mentor said nothing. He was just preparing to open his eyes. In the next notification, a command was written to start the training. At the same time, the mentor said that the learning process could make him want to die, so he had to be patient. Overcoming the pain, the king asked what this strange situation was. Information began to arrive that humans are intelligent and live in a world known as reality. Using VR technology, they created a virtual reality in which he is located. This is a kind of VR game. NPC is a non-player character and its only purpose is to help players enjoy what is happening. The next notification was that basic knowledge about games and people was being downloaded. After some time, the notification finally said that the data was downloaded and that was the end of the training. His mentor noticed that he had not said much, but the king asked him to wait. The king said that based on what he said, he and his world are just a set of code. He replied that the king is not just some lines of code, it can make players happy, and the king is a very important creation. Then the AI showed the king a video of the game's press conference, the number of players, and the players' feedback on it. When the king saw this, he exclaimed with joy that they were so popular. While they are waiting for the players, they are also waiting for them. And he asked what kind of abomination does not allow them to meet. To this question, the AI answered that it was the king. Then the king asked if he was making fun of his king. Shay said he wouldn't dare. It is true. Because he didn't wake up, the players couldn't go to these lands. The king replied that it was indeed his fault. He asked if now that he was awake, they could invite the players. She replied that there was something that needed to be done. Surprised by this, the king asked why. Couldn't he have delegated this to his subordinates? Then the AI explained that out of all the NPCs, he was the only one who was allowed to think and act independently. The king noted that they all relied too much on their king. After that, the AI wrote that in this case, he asked to move the stones, and said that there were still parts of the Uranus map that needed to be completed. The king fulfilled the request to change the position of this celestial stone. The next task was to restore the 4 statues that will finally complete the map. And to top it all off, the AI informed me that it needed to fix the bugs. The howling is ineffective, so it will have to adjust the sensitivity. And then make sure that all NPCs follow their commands without fail. Finally, a notification appeared with a greeting and a message that all preparations were complete. The AI advised that the king needed to train more. When the king sat down, the AI made a comment that he had crushed the flower. The king asked if he still had time to replace it. Shay replied that he shouldn't worry about it and instantly restored the flower. Then the king said that this is a virtual world and it can be controlled by a code. So it was possible to move the island to test the NPCs and restore the statues using a code. When the AI confirmed and asked if he wasn't using the code for work, the king was angry and asked if he was mocking him. So the AI replied that some code also requires permission, and some things really can't be done without it. Suddenly, something like a hole appeared in the sky and began to extend into a tunnel. The king realized that it was the opening of a portal. Notifications began to appear that the registration was started, and a connection to the server was established. The message went on to say that the players would soon appear and he welcomed their arrival. The king joyfully exclaimed that he was welcome to Uranus and that he had been waiting for them. Voices began to be heard everywhere praising the architecture and even the noise in the kingdom. Everything was as expected from Uranus. One of the players said that it's time to stop praising the game. It's not that good after all these years of waiting, and he had to drop the complaint. Some people were looking at the gifts they could get and were happy to see so many of them, and someone else would gather their strategic team and set up a meeting place here. The man said it was not bad, but if the players in this game were flesh and blood, it would be even better. Then another said that he just didn't know, and another player said that something terrible had happened. Disturbed by what he heard, the man asked what had happened. The player replied that there was a ghost, and it was true, and this ghost is AI. This scared the other player very much. The king asked his mentor why he, as the king, could not greet the players. He started to get hysterical and demanded that he immediately break the spell. Shai told him to calm down and asked what would happen if the final boss came out to the players with a health level of 999 points. While players of the first level have a level of 10 points, and players of the second level have a level of 15, the level of the king looks frightening. They will just run away. The upset king sent everything to hell and added that it was not good to be so powerful. The king was interested in Shir's answer. The message told him not to complain. If this is not possible for the final boss, there is always another form. The mentor told the king that he had a great mission on his shoulders. He had to pretend to be a player. The king was surprised by this statement. Then the AI noticed that such a plot is not popular in human stories. A close friend who has always been there for you turns out to be the final boss. The king is the only NPC with self-awareness, and naturally he has to use it. The king asked if it was done especially for him. He added that he seemed to have no choice but to pretend for a while. The AI told the king that in order to pretend to be a player, he needs to remove his heart. When he asked about the heart, the AI told him that the heart is the core of data that contains information about the final boss. The mentor said that when the king removes him, he will automatically become a player. Touching his chest, the king asked if he could really remove the core. Then the AI noticed that having studied the basic information about humans, the king was afraid of losing the organ just like a human. Shai added that he understood and would remove it from the program. It doesn't seem like it will affect the game in any way. At best, it will lose half the fun of the game, and that's it. The king stopped him and asked if this would really reduce the pleasure of the game, but in the end, he said it didn't matter. With a sigh, the king asked his mentor who made him king, but he did not answer. A message appeared asking the king to put his hand to it. As soon as the king touched his hand, his kernel began to come out of his chest. Its strength is 99,999 points. His defense is 99,999 points, and also mana 99,999 points. And of course, agility is also 99,999 points. Only his health remained unknown. Will it be lost because of the transformation? In the place where the king stood, a guy appeared and exclaimed that everything was ready. His mentor congratulated the king on his transformation and revealed a new message to him. It said that the game he was going to participate in would change a bit. One by one, warnings were displayed that the game kernel had been invaded. The intrusion could not be stopped. The kernel reset failed. The world is about to collapse. The guy asked what was going on. Why are there error messages everywhere? Who invaded them, and what kind of destruction is this? He looked around and saw what was happening around him, and that his world would soon be gone. Shouting that it was all him, the guy angrily hit the notification window. New notifications began to appear that the new key was successfully installed. The user has the highest level of access. The destruction of Uranus has been confirmed. The transfer of player data to the new world is underway. The current progress is 1%. The players were scared, not understanding what was happening. Someone suggested that the game was hacked. The AI reported that it was all them, and that the current process had reached 70%. After its core disintegrated, she reported that progress had reached 100%. Then a notification appeared asking what adventures awaited players who arrived in the new world. Finally, the AI said that he was looking forward to it. The guy could not contain his anger and shouted that it was all him. Clenching his fists, the boy rushed forward. Shuri told him not to be jealous. After all, he would always be his favorite player. The boy tried to reach him and jumped into the bright light of the unknown. AI said in the end that he hoped they would have a chance to meet again. He started generating the water of the sky and vegetation in the new world. Gritting his teeth in anger, he sat on a pile of sand, looking at where he was. When he got up, he saw nothing but sand around him. He had no choice but to walk across the desert toward the horizon. He was amazed when he saw the view from the sandy hill. What he saw clearly showed that this world had really changed. With a sigh, he noted that he had been deceived by a broken system. And what a shame! Is he the one they call the king? Suddenly, he saw a notification with a hospitable invitation to Uranus. Unable to restrain his anger, the guy shouted that it was not Uranus and attacked the sign with the name. All the players received a message from the AI saying that it had already noticed that there was no exit button in the game. One of the players asked if it was a bug and asked to fix it quickly so that everyone could continue playing. The AI replied that they were not worried and the door to the real world would always be open, but games have their own rules. The guy asked if this event was inspired by any anime, and why did he suddenly look like himself in reality? Then the AI told them that if they wanted to know how to get out of here, they first had to get to the main island alive. Gritting his teeth in anger, the guy squeaked out that it was all the damn system. People must be scared, so he decided to find them. If he is there, he will at least reassure them. As soon as he took a step, a new notification appeared. It was a welcome for the travelers to the first stop on their cloud exploration journey. They would be staying here for 3 days to explore and have to choose a weapon according to the characteristics. It turned out that his name in the game was Wang Yuan, and he was a traveler. All of his starting characteristics of defense intelligence were 1 point. He had no title and no weapons. The player's level was too low to activate the rating system. The guy thought it was too much. After that, a new notification appeared congratulating you on getting into the starting strength rating. This was the ranking of the weakest players. Jin Yaoan took the first place. Wang Yuan II, Dai Wei Ir III, Lin Zi IV, and Wei Jin Xi V. He shouted that he was once the strongest king on this continent. If he can't show his heroic record, at least don't make him start from the bottom. Suddenly, it occurred to him that he might be being played. The AI replied that the initial characteristics are based on an assessment of their body from the real world. In addition, they will also select a unique skill based on their past. It is activated after the specified condition is met. The guy said that according to him, he should be in last place. But there is another player. The AI said that there will be many ways to improve your performance in the game. The AI also emphasized that he had to choose his starting weapon right now. The guy asked him to show him what he had. Then the AI explained that at this stage there are 4 options for starting weapons. If you have more points in strength or defense, it is recommended to use a sword. But if a player has more intelligence points, it is recommended to use a staff. If the player is quite agile, it is better to use a bow or daggers. After that, the AI said that his choice would determine his starting class. The guy thought that it was identical to what happened in Uranus. On Uranus, the weapon determined the class. 4 starting weapons and 4 starting classes. Each class has 4 development paths. After mastering the appropriate weapon, a class change will become available. The guy smiled and said that his world hadn't changed completely. He thought that the less changes there were, the more advantages for him, and he would have more chances to help the players. Shai said that he had chosen a dagger as his main weapon, so he awakened the Thug starter class. His starting rookie clothes were automatically changed to Thug clothes. As a result, the guy received a Thug suit that increased his strength by 1 and his dexterity by 3. He also received an ancient dagger. However, when he looked at his characteristics on the screen, he noticed that they had not changed at all after the choice he had made. The guy pointed to the indicators and asked what the hell had changed. But when he poked his finger at the notification screen, it was as if his finger had passed through it. A notification appeared congratulating him and telling him that he had touched a key memory. The condition was met and the unique skill was unlocked. He was congratulated on being the first player in the entire North to receive a unique skill. As a reward, he receives 1 outstanding gift box that can be used after entering the main island. Wang Yuan thought it might be because he was changing the settings. The moment he touched the game panel, a new notification appeared again. That notification congratulated me on unlocking a new skill. His unique skill was at the first level the number of characters that could be moved by 1, but its use was unlimited. Angry, Wang Yuan asked him why he was hiding and started swearing. A message appeared saying that the system did not miss the obscene words. Then something threw the guy away. Thanks to his thug skills and agility, the guy did 2 flips before landing. When he landed, the guy gritted his teeth and wondered what kind of elite monster it was. Opposite him on the ground was something small and pink. When he finally realized what kind of monster it was, he screamed that it was slime. It had the 5th level, HP 5 out of 5, strength 5 points, defense 3, agility 5, and intelligence 0. The guy asked why the mucus stats were not based on his real-world body assessment. The AI answered that there is no slime in the real world. The next notification congratulated you on the start of the main quest capturing the slime camp and opening the path to the island. The apparently non-threatening slime abruptly attacked the guy, and its attack was not weak. Wang Yuan weighed the difference in characteristics and decided that he could not fight in close combat. In battle, the guy realized that he still remembered the combat skills he had learned. The guy managed to get some mucus in his body and thought he could take away his health. A notification appears that he failed to break through the defense. The strength of his attack is weaker than the target's defense. In Uranus, failure to break through the defense would equally take away 1 health point, and if this number was changed. At this thought, it dawned on the guy and he thought that it was exactly this number. He also got a unique skill of a character that can be moved. To test the guess, the guy ordered me to open the window of his characteristics. He thought that if the moving symbols were related to this kind of data, he might be able to change them. He clicked on the symbol and saw that it was moving. A message appeared that he chose the character 0. The current character limit is 1. He cannot select any more characters, so he must move them as soon as possible. He moved a 0 from luck and added it to the strength column. As a result, the strength column now has 10 points. Wang Yuan said that it was time for his little friend to lock up. However, the boy failed to repel the slime's attack. In fact, he slapped it hard. Then the boy made another attempt to attack the mucus, but to his surprise, he failed again. The AI reported that it failed to break through the defense. The next message said that the symbol move failed. Luck returned to its original value of 0. The strength also returned to the initial value of 1. Eventually, a hint appeared that at least 1 character should remain in the characteristic after moving it. The guy indignantly asked why he was allowed to choose it. He thought that if stats with the same character cannot be moved, then the only thing he can move is health. The guy received a warning that his health had dropped below a safe level and a request to restore it. Pulling out his dagger, the guy prepared to repel the attack of the restless slime. With 1 swipe of his dagger, the boy repelled the attack and finally defeated the slime. The notification said that Wang Yuan had lost 9 points of health and gained 9 points of strength. The guy said that he didn't care that it was low. After that, a new notification appeared that he successfully used the unique skill, the student's skill level, and as a reward, he received 1 health potion, and its characteristics have changed. Now his strength is equal to 10, and his health is normal. Something strange began to happen before his eyes, and the mucus he cut began to fuse together. And then those parts became 2 full-fledged individuals of slime. The AI shows a new notification that the main quest has been updated. He needs to capture the slime camp and go deep into the island. Now he needs to destroy 2 slime individuals. The guy started running away from the attacking slime and shouted it all wrong. How could the slime separate? Saying that this could not happen in his world, the boy recalled the slime in his world. After all, in his world, the slime is blue. When he was king, the AI told him that monsters infected with parasites can be distinguished by their color. So the pink slime is infected with parasites. That time, the king noticed that it tasted good, but it wasn't good enough to just change color. The AI replied that they could refer to the plant parasite powdery mildew that divides to germinate and adjust the way it attacks. It's easier to say that mucus cannot be killed because it will separate if you do, and there is only one way to defeat it. Then the guy used his unique skill again and rolled 9 points of strength in favor of agility. The guy quickly slipped between the 2 slime individuals, slightly hitting them. But he didn't just touch them quickly, he took something from their bodies. A congratulation appeared, saying that he had seen the enemy's disguise and received 2 parasites. The main quest window changed. Now the main quest was to capture 2 parasites and see the enemy's disguise, which he did. The time to complete the quest is 29 minutes. The remaining time is 71 hours and 30 minutes and 10 seconds. The reward is 10 points. Research progress is 6%. 2 parasites and 1 research compass have been obtained. The basic stalker skill is unlocked. The guy wondered why this monster was placed at the very beginning. Another question that made him think was whether other players would be able to come up with this. In the real world, there was a lot of commotion in the cybersecurity agency's office. The hotline received calls. The consultant said that they had already formed a group and the rescue team would arrive soon. Answering the call, the consultant told them to stop spreading false information. Removing VR equipment will not result in the death of the player. The man noticed that the day had just begun and there was already such a mess. Then he asked if they had found any clues. The head of the investigation department said it was impossible for such a large-scale game to be created by ghosts. After that, the head of the investigative department added thoughtfully that maybe it was Uranos. He ended his phone conversation by saying to call back when he heard his name called. The deputy head of the investigative committee contacted Chief Liu and said he had good news. The guy said that one of their people had just successfully logged into the game. However, when the head heard this, he was not happy, but asked if they had all gone crazy. A research compass is a traveler's best friend. It can only be used in this storyline. Allies, enemies, important items needed to reach the main island can all be found with the compass. The guy used a compass and it led him to the place. The guy stopped and said it should be right here, but he didn't see anything. Then he thought that maybe it was above him and looked up at the crown of the tree he was standing next to. Wang Yuan shook the tree hard until someone else fell off it. When he fell from the tree, he hit himself hard and howled in pain. The unknown boy was very scared when he saw Wang Yuan and asked him who he was. The guy replied that it was just the singing of the fall and that the fruit on the tree was so delicious. The AI informs you that it has found its first hitchhiker. The compass data was updated and his companion was marked with a symbol. At the same time, the AI congratulated him on receiving a joint task. To ensure the best task for everyone, they provided each guest with an exclusive beach. However, the airship will leave the island only after everyone is gathered. Recently, there has been volcanic activity, so you need to find traveling companions. The hint said that this task is available only to players with a research compass, and he can fully trust his fellow travelers. The guy read that he needed to find 4 more. Looking at Wang Yuan's expression, the fellow traveler asked if the guy was going to hit him now. Wang Yuan thought he needed to calm down and not scare the player. Not knowing where to start, he recalled that his fellow traveler had said that the tree had delicious fruits. Watching him eat the leaves, his fellow traveler asked him what he was doing. He was talking nonsense because he was panicking, but why was he doing it? The fellow traveler thought that maybe the guy was one of those who only knew how to fight. He thought that ever since he escaped from the monster camp, he had been watching the other players. The guy did it to find someone who could capture the monster's camp. The journey of one guy named Lin Si ended here. A fellow traveler called Wang Yuan a bro and said he must be strong. Wang Yuan didn't understand why he was interested in his power, so he asked him what he meant. The guy said that he was just passing by and saw him fighting with mucus. He began to describe how Wang Yuan fought with slime in a mock battle. He did it with the words, Bak Vju Riz Badish. Wang Yuan laughed and noticed that he had described everything quite accurately. The fellow traveler called the guy bro again and said that from that moment on, he became a god in his heart. Then Wang Yuan said that this was just a task for beginners. Since he was able to get here, he should be able to destroy the monster camp, right? Slowly and rather uncertainly, the fellow traveler replied that he had a small problem, and on this entire island, he was the only one who could possibly help him. The head, angry, said that the technical department had not yet presented its analysis, and he was sending their men to their deaths. The deputy asked what all the fuss was about. After all, there were 12 experienced groups. The head interrupted him and got even angrier. He continued that only one person managed to break through Uranos' defense. The head asked in surprise that only one had succeeded and frowned even more. The deputy told the head not to worry. Since he was able to get in, it means he will find a way to send intelligence. He looked worried when the boy added that he was his best student. Jin Yaoan was the one who managed to break through the defense and penetrate the game. Wang Yuan said it was impressive, and then he asked if he really got to the island without completing the task. The fellow traveler said it might be a bug or something. It was an emergency and he had no choice but to run for his life. The guy said that his attacks could not cause any harm. After he was sent flying, he accidentally touched a fruit on a tree. At that moment, a notification appeared that if he threw that fruit, it would fall off. In a panic, he threw several fruits. When he saw that the slime had exploded, he began to hope that he had managed to defeat them. But when the smoke from the explosion began to dissipate, it became clear that there was several times more mucus. So the guy had no choice but to run away from the slime that was attacking him. Wang Yuan mockingly said that this was impressive. Then his fellow traveler added that who knew that mucus could divide. He said that in any case, they should create a group first so that he could divide his tasks. The guy was happy and said that he knew that the bro would help him. My fellow traveler received a message that he had received a request to create a group from a player named Wang Yuan, and the guy happily confirmed it, saying that from now on he would stick with him. Then it became clear that the fellow traveler was a first-level mage with 10 out of 10 health, and Wang Yuan was a first-level thug with a health level of 1 out of 1. Seeing this, the fellow traveler could not help but shout that he had only 1 point of health. Wang Yuan told him not to worry. This is the effect of a unique skill, and he explained that if he wanted to become stronger, he had to reduce his health. The magician was desperate. He wondered if he had made a mistake and chosen the wrong person. The guy told Zi Zhiyuan that the probability of making a mistake had decreased slightly, so that his task would have a better chance of success. After that, the guy turned to him and asked if he was ready to trust him. Cai Zhiyuan was surprised, but quickly replied that of course he trusted him and asked what he wanted him to do. In a few minutes, the boy was hanging from a tree and shouting that he did not want to be bait. Hiding nearby behind a bush, Wang Yuan gestured that everything would be great. The fellow traveler thought that the guy was probably testing him. Maybe he was checking to see if he would stay on his side. When he made up his mind, he turned to him and asked if his bro was ready to take that risk, since there was a whole flock of slugs there. Tossing the stone in his hand, Wang Yuan told him to relax because he would not be hurt. With the words that he would help him get started, Wang Yuan nodded the stone toward the slime camp. They immediately reacted as the boy had planned. Angry, they began to look for who had disturbed their peace. Wang Yuan quickly ducked back into the bushes away from the angry eyes of the slugs. So the slime took out its anger on the only person they saw hanging from a tree. He was waving his staff and shouting at them not to come near him. In a few seconds, the guy slipped between all the slugs again. Seeing how easily he managed to cope, the magician was impressed and said that he was so strong. Wang Yuan used the stealth skill. This is a basic thug skill after which the player goes into invisibility mode. Movement speed plus 10. In this mode, for each enemy defeated, 10% of speed is added and 20% of strength is subtracted. The recovery time is 2 minutes. Wang Yuan asked his fellow traveler how he felt about it and added that the task seemed to be completed. At the same time, he returned the ancient dagger to his inventory. A girl hiding behind a tree nearby quietly watched this action. The girl noted that it was not so easy to kill that guy. A notification about the main quest objective appeared again. Capture a camp of 10 slime parasites. See 1 parasite disguise. The mage was alarmed to see that there were 0 out of 10 and asked if he hadn't finished them off. Then Wang Yuan suggested that maybe it was because he was holding them in his hands. He transferred the parasites to his hand. A new message has appeared stating that the transfer has failed. The player Zi Zhiyuan's inventory is full. The magician was surprised to hear that it was full and said that there was nothing special there. He had just collected some exploding fruits. When asked how much he had taken, the magician replied that if he could put more than 9 in each slot, he would have taken more. He noted that since he could not fight, he found something that could save his life. The guy said that since he couldn't take anything else, he would give him a few pieces. A notification appeared that the player Zi Zhiyuan was offering him 18 exploding fruits. The fellow traveler thought that 2 free slots would be enough to store the parasites. If he gives him the fruit as a thank you for his help, what will he say? But what if he decides that this is not enough? If he had told him that he had made a mistake as an excuse, would it have made him angry? The magician thought that he would then use the opportunity to find out what he wanted and make him think about helping him complete the task. A few minutes before, Wang Yuan received a notification congratulating him on receiving an item from another player. The condition is fulfilled. The unique recognition skill scale is unlocked. The greater the value and number of gifts, the higher the scale of recognition. When he received 18 fruits as a gift, he received 21 whole and 6/10 points, including 20% for the first gift. Any gifts that the player receives help to fill up the recognition scale. Once the scale is filled to 1,000, the second phase of the unique skill will be unlocked. Wang Yuan was pleased with the recognition. He thought he knew what the players would like. The magician was surprised that he didn't consider it a small price to pay, but was even happy about it. The magician thought that he was being taken advantage of, but he was grateful because he believed that others were helping him. One day, unexpectedly for a magician, a guy came up to him and asked what he was thinking about. He noticed that he was so focused, and then he asked if he could take the parasite nuclei now. The AI reported that the transfer was successful. Zieju Yuan received 12 parasite cores. The group member who completed the main quest task received a research compass and unlocked the joint task of collecting fellow travelers. The guy noticed that he had also received a reward and invited the magician to go with him. The magician was surprised that he wanted to take him with him. As he put on his hood, he thought that the boy was a real fool. He smiled and said that of course he would go anywhere with his bro, and he added that if he was right, then to find fellow travelers, he needed to go in this direction. When Wang Yuan asked him if he knew where they were, Xie Yuan replied that he had seen 3 before they met. Approaching the tombstone on the first beach, he said that Lin Zi's journey had just ended here. The notice said that 1 traveler out of 4 had been found, and 1 fellow traveler was lost. On the second beach, they met Hua Huan, a first-level swordsman. He became the second fellow traveler they found. On the third beach, they encountered a mountain of slugs. As he was breaking through this pile of slugs, the guy asked if there was still anyone alive. The AI reported that the skill was successfully applied with defense +9 and agility -9. Waving his sword, the guy shouted for the slime to come, and he was not afraid of them. To his great surprise, Wang Yuan emerged from the slime and exclaimed that it was great that he was still alive. He received a notification that a player named Wang Yuan had sent him an invitation to join the group. The guy could only decline or accept it. The warrior Lu Ajung accepted the invitation. Wang Yuan said that it looked like the mucus could not penetrate his defense. Then he told him to leave the rest to him. He again successfully used his skill and activated the stealth mode and received 10 points of speed for each defeated enemy. But his strength was reduced by 20. There was so much slime that its agility and speed increased to the level of a tornado. The warrior Lu Ajung looked on with admiration as the boy dealt with the slugs. When he landed, Wang Yuan said that he had managed to divide the slime into 1,000 copies, and added that he was a good warrior. He replied that he couldn't just stand there while being attacked. The magician turned to Wang Yuan and noticed that his brother had worked so hard, and offered him a break. But the guy noticed that there was only one beach left. Suddenly, they received a notification that their trip had come to an end. The scoring will be done soon. According to their rules, guests who do not get enough points must leave the island. The traveler Hua Huan received only 15 points for the entire quest. Warrior Lu Ajung also received 15 points for completing his quest. The guy exclaimed that he had swung his sword 1,000 times. Shu replied that he had indeed used his sword, but it was useless. Si Yuan received 15 points for the task and another 3 points for the battle, a total of 18 points. The magician asked if he got the points for the battle because he helped Wang Yuan. He replied that it was most likely and noted that he was playing the role of bait well. The traveler Wang Yuan also received 15 points for the task, but he received more than 1,000 for the battles. Wang Yuan's total score in the first stage was 1,050 points. He received congratulations on taking the top position in the server's player rating. He was showered with insincere compliments. Lu Ajung said enviously that he had done it easily. Wang Yuan himself held up his nose and said that there was no need to congratulate him so pompously. The next notification said that the required number of points at this stage was 15. The required number of traveling companions is 5. Not counting the missing traveler, the required points were deducted from all travelers. Travelers who do not fulfill the conditions will be forcibly removed from the island. Travelers who have scored the required number of points can decide to stay here or leave the island. To continue their exploration, they must enter a dense forest. To finish the journey, they can stay on the beach. The beach area will be closed in 2 minutes, so they are asked to hurry up with their decision. Lu Ajung said he understood. They are told that they can now leave the game. Suddenly, the wind rose on the island. Lu Achen asked what was going on. Wasn't that what was meant? Si Yuan thought that it didn't seem to be the case. Everything that's happening now is similar to the anime he used to watch. Based on what's happening, they won't be able to just leave. But otherwise, it's just a game. Maybe it was really just a bug? And in any case, it seems that he really wanted to get out of the game. So why not? Laughing, Zi Yuan said that he also thought that was what was meant. He just made a decision so quickly, and he suggested that if there was another chance to play together. The boy said he would definitely play and added that he liked them too. Wang Yuan thought that if the player wanted to leave, he would not stop him. But is this really the way to the outside world? Suddenly, a giant monster with a wide open mouth appeared from the water. It was a level 99 island scavenger with a health of 99,999. It was announced again that the beach area will be closed soon. In order to provide an unforgettable travel experience for each player, all locations will be removed. A kindly garbage collector gives peace and tranquility to those who decide to stay on the island. Then it was announced that there were 5 seconds left before the beach was closed. Lu Ajeng repeatedly told the soybeans not to panic and convinced himself that this was the way to get out of here. There were 3 seconds left before closing time. Wang Yuan said that something was definitely wrong. The guy abruptly jerked out of his seat and threw his cloak back, shouting that Lu Azhen had grabbed it. He looked back when it was announced that there were 0 seconds left before the beach closed. The giant jaws just bit off a large piece of the island with the beach on it. It was announced that the first stage was closed. Therefore, they invite everyone to continue the journey. 68 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds left. Xie Yuan thought that he just wanted him to test the mechanics for them. Had he really sent him to his doom? Looking toward the abyss, he wondered where his brother was. Why didn't he throw the dagger at the other player? Just don't tell him it's over. Wang Yuan jumped down with Lu Chen in his arms behind the sobbing Xi Yuan. To calm the sobbing magician, the guy said that he shouldn't worry because they were fine. However, Lu Chen immediately howled in pain. The guy apologized and said that it might have been quite painful. In his defense, he said that he really could not think of anything better. He added that the situation called for desperate measures. After that, he received a message that this was the second warning. This is a peaceful location. If he harms another player for the 3rd time, he will be punished by the judge. Handing him a bottle, he said that this potion would help restore his health. Lu Chen asked the boys if he was a toy to test their skills. He added that they helped him, so he didn't mind training together. With a sigh, he said that he really had an important meeting in the evening, and then he asked why they wouldn't let him leave the game. Then Wang Yuan asked him if he was afraid of being eaten by the giant. He replied that he was a little bit, but he does not think that even if he is eaten, nothing terrible will happen. Isn't it just a game? The guys looked at each other and glanced toward the former beach. Hua Quan said that before, it seems now that this is no longer the case. Lu A-chen was very angry when he heard what he said and asked what he was talking about. He asked him if he had ever read stories about games from which you can't get out. In those games, even if it's mucus and even if it's the only one, if you lose to someone, it's over. The guy called him Uncle Lu and said that now was not the best time to quit the game if he didn't want to die so quickly. Hua Huan said that perhaps his older brother stopped him for that very reason. And Si Jiyuan said that in the end, no one knows what could have happened. For a moment, everyone was silent and looked at each other. The tension was palpable. Suddenly, Lu A-chen grabbed the boy and tousled his hair and asked who this little man was lecturing to. Wang Yuan thought it was natural that they would be scared. The world that was captured as expected would make the players feel afraid. If he had stolen the core, right now he had no idea where the stupid panel was. He thought that if they didn't know the truth, it might be easier for them all. Until he finds out what happened, he will do his best to make them enjoy the game. So the guy said that he didn't really think much at the time. He said that it was the first time he had seen a monster of this level, and he could not control himself. And then he added that what Hua Jun said was logical. In this unknown world, they had better be more careful and attentive. Wang Yuan invited Lu A-chen to join their group. Wang Yuan then reminded him that he had used him for training, and asked if he shouldn't repay him for his kindness. He emphasized that he guarantees he will lead them all to the main island, and as soon as they get there, Lu A-chen will be able to quit the game. Lu A-chen thought that he could not just die here, besides everything has really changed now. The guy said that since he was here, let's stick together. Emphasizing that he was not used to receiving something for nothing, he promised to do everything in his power for the common good, and would not give in to him. Wang Yuan said it was great, and the guys shook hands in agreement. He was very surprised when Wang Yuan said that in that case, he had to go in search of his next assignment. Pointing in the direction of Lu A-chen, he asked if the second quest was not in that treasure chest. They asked in disappointment if this was the chest that had been eaten along with the beach. When they were at Zizhi Yuan's base, the mage wondered why he wasn't even going to open it. Could it be a mimic monster disguised as an object? Therefore, at Hua Juan's base, Zizhi Yuan did not allow him to open the chest, saying that it was a monster. The guys told Wang Yuan about the reasons why they did not open the chests at their locations. Wang Yuan thought that his main task was to be the king of the treasure chests, and he completely forgot that he had to open them. Then the guy asked Lu A-chen what kind of assignment he had received. The message said that the luggage was completely empty. The ticket to the main island is still in the bag. You need to attack the vermin camp to get your luggage. There was also a hint that he had to complete this quest before noon. Wang Yuan mentally said that in order to complete the task, he needed to return the luggage. The mage asked his bro if this was part of his strategy or something. Lu A-chen asked if they really didn't bring him along and noticed that the bro was too much into monsters. Wang Yuan said that since they were already in this situation, they needed to listen to him. In normal situations, game designers would not deliberately block quest paths. If this was the only main quest, it would be impossible to get the next one. If they can move on without accepting the quest, it means that there is another way, a hidden path, and probably now they are following it. He asked if they remembered the quest description. He reminded them that their luggage had been stolen, but they were expected to return it. Accordingly, the thief who stole it would be on the second path. Wang Yuan suggested that his fellow travelers take this path. As a result of this choice, they had to run away from a 10th level giant bear with 50 points of strength. At the same time, it also had intelligence and agility of 10 points each, defense of 30 points, and 100 points of health. The description said that the forest bear is the lord of the forest and the #1 hunter, and also that the bear likes to collect small things. Looking at its characteristics, the wizard noticed that it has high defense and strength, but low agility and intelligence. This monster is designed to react to attacks, so it would be best if one of you distracts it and the others take the luggage. Lu A-chen asked how this could be and noted that there might not be a hidden route at all. Then Lu A-chen turned to the boys and suggested that they return to the previous route. Wang Yuan told him not to worry. He had just checked, and there was a way to defeat a level 10 monster. With a smile, he asked the boys if they had used the basic skill. The warrior Lu A-chen asked if a basic skill could defeat a bear. The magician said that he had tried it, but it was of little use. Is there a secret? A combination of skills? Wang Yuan said no and emphasized that the main thing was that they had it. He asked the guys to go into the characteristics and try to activate their skills. The AI reported that he successfully used the block. Lu A-chen said that he successfully activated 2 basic skills to parry with a shield, although he does not have a shield and a block. The block gives 5% to defense, but even with the bonus, its defense does not exceed 13 and 65%. Then he remarked that he couldn't have won the jackpot and awakened the basic skill that gives a 500% bonus. Wang Yuan replied that of course not, and he advised me to use my skill several times. Following Lu's advice, Chen used the block skill several times. The guy noticed that his skill increased by 1 point, but the level increase was blocked. Wang Yuan replied that you can't improve your experience, but you can improve your skills. He said that he had tried it. The skill is improving, and there are no limits. The basic skill can be awakened after the first stage of the task is completed. They hadn't used it much yet, so they didn't notice. He said that his stats were low, so he decided to test the awakened skill. Although the bonus only increased by 5% due to the level restriction, he managed to activate the basic affix, which helped him raise the vortex. Shestian wondered when he had learned all this. Before those slugs, Wang Yuan pointed out that he was not a 99th level bear. Yes, there is a difference between the 1st and 10th levels, but it can be compensated for by skill. Each of them has completely different characteristics, and now they need to improve their skills to the maximum. They have to work together. Everyone has to make an effort. After training, Luo Chen moaned that his body was aching. Xie Zhiyuan agreed and added that although there is no fatigue in the game, the muscles still react to the load. Luo Chen noticed that a lot of time had passed and asked how much longer they had to practice. Wang Yuan replied that he did not and reminded them that they had to finish the task by midnight. And before this period expires, you need to score another 10,000 points. Xie Zhiyuan asked how many points each person had and said that he had 179. Then Luo Chen said he had 298. Hua Huan said that his brother taught him the basics of fencing, but he still has 0 skills. The magician told his bro that he was giving up because it was getting dark. He replied that he was trying hard and that's why he was not getting any results. And then he asked if he could use a vortex. But when the magician was outraged, he said he was joking. Fighting off the birds, Luo Chen called out to Wang Yuan, but he only advised him to eat mushrooms if he was tired. They will restore strength. Xie Zhiyuan was running away from a wild bear screaming. Wang Yuan said that it is practice that leads to perfection. Little Hua Jin said sadly that he was not good at it. After showing him the place, Wang Yuan told him not to worry, just to stand here and prepare his sword. Getting out of the pit, an angry Luo Chen angrily shouted that he was a madman. Then he asked where Wang Yuan was. The magician replied that the bro went after the bear and he came to dig it up. Hearing this, the guy got even angrier and asked what was wrong with this guy. After thinking for a moment, he said that although he was annoyed that this exile was making decisions for everyone, and his skill had not yet reached the level of 10,000, but he feels something. He received a message that the god of protection was impressed with his efforts and granted him the blessing of the land. His defense is now impenetrable regardless of the strength of the enemy's attack. The program lasts 2 hours. Xie Zhiyuan also received a message that the god of wisdom was impressed with his efforts and granted him the blessing of water. His magic pours like water and replaces the positive effects of the enemy with negative ones. Duration: 2 hours. Wang Yuan ran out of the forest, chased by a forest bear, and shouted that he had brought the bear. The guys mentally instructed themselves that they would cope with everything and prepared themselves. At the same time, when he saw the mark on the tree, he said that he was back in that place again. He thought he was walking around the island in circles, but he met neither players nor monsters. There was not a soul here, but nothing can be done. Even if he is discovered, he must find a way to contact the other players. The guy has already spent a lot of time hacking the defense, but it's no use. You can try to hack the system to find out the players' IDs and determine their location. If he did not try, the system would report an error and that the communication system was blocked. Then he decided to look at the scorecard and saw that Wang Yuan was in first place. With the blessing of the earth, Luo Chen received perfect protection. Watching the fight and enjoying her popcorn, she ordered it to cool down. The soap bubbles confused the bear and its defense dropped by 20%. Then Hua Huan slipped under the bear with his sword. He then shouted joyfully that he had defeated the bear. Slowly popping popcorn into her mouth, she said it was so boring. She asked why the main character was so boring. She said she didn't care anymore and wouldn't watch it. It's okay to be slimy, but to hurt a poor bear, these players are so boring. She had an idea and told him to kill the king for her. He asked if the holy messenger angel wanted to exceed his authority again. The bird reproached them for always finishing the game ahead of time, and he noticed that the owner had deliberately added a beginner's level to the new game. She mumbled that she would admit her mistake. Then he told me to stop creating things that don't exist in the game, and not to forget the purpose for which the owner sent them here. She replied that she had taken the search seriously and had already found all the players, and had not found any invaders. He asked if it was true and pointed to the screen and said that even this one was talking to the best player. Luo Chen asked in surprise where his sword had gone, and Hua Quan, looking at the stone, noticed how beautiful the eye of the forest was. Wang Yuan received a message from a player praising him. It said that it was beautiful and worthy of the best player, and that it would be nice to meet a fellow traveler like him. She said with concern that this interface was not the only thing. Their communication system is different. The guy said it was nothing. It's just that they have a strong squad, and he also needs to find traveling companions as soon as possible, because the next task cannot be completed alone. He thanked me for my concern and said that everything was fine. At this time, he determined the guy's location and generated the item. Wang Yuan was surprised to receive a message asking if he hadn't found him. At the same moment, a bright pillar of light descended from the sky somewhere in the thick of the forest. She said that he had long ago managed to get to the main island. Now I understand why she didn't notice him. If he managed to get through the defense, he is much more interesting than that bunch of players. The girl said that since he had the strength to fight, he could play with her. And then she called him brother. A notification was displayed that he had successfully used the mimicry skill. She was struck and alarmed by his appearance. It was obvious that she had not expected this. He apologized for scaring her and said that if she was caught in the area he was responsible for, he would be happy to play with her. And now he has to go on a call. It has been reported that the location of the player Wang Yuan has been determined. The teleportation stone custom item has been successfully applied. She asked what it was now and where this high-mindedness came from. Will they catch her? It was obvious that he was their prisoner. She emphasized that she would definitely capture him. The girl ordered the best player to come forward and exclaimed that he was not there, noting that it doesn't matter. He won't be able to use cheats for long and they'll just hack him now. And besides, she will now keep a closer eye on the first in the ranking. The warrior asked him why he didn't take the gift, since it was thanks to him that they had defeated the bear. Wang Yuan said that he had just been communicating with another player when a bug occurred. The magician said that the communication system was not yet working. Shai Qiyuan told him not to say that he hadn't logged on to the main panel. He replied that he hadn't because he knew everything by heart. Suddenly, a notification came that a new day would soon come, and the results of the second stage would be summarized. Lu Chen asked if it was already 12 o'clock. He also asked if they had received a notification about the hidden quest when they fought the bear. Wang Yuan told them not to panic. Even if there was no hidden quest, they should still get a lot of points for the level difference. A notification appears that special conditions have been activated. The second stage score is postponed, and they are congratulated on unlocking the hidden task, Escape of the Parasites. To complete the task, you need to defeat all the parasites and survive until dawn. The magician asked in confusion if they would have to fight again. Lu Chen said it was nothing. He would definitely cut them up this time. And besides, they had already figured out their mechanics. A new message said that since the first player in the ranking was on the island, the difficulty of the task was increased. The area of parasite infection has been increased. Since everyone was busy searching for luggage, the parasites escaped and multiplied. They ask everyone not to stay in the forest under any circumstances. The rotten dragon bones were chosen as a carrier. We have received a message that the paid mode has been successfully purchased. Welcome to the mini-game Escape from the Dense Forest. You need to collect as many gold coins as possible before the parasites catch up. A loud roar of a monster made of dinosaur bones infected with parasites rang out over the forest. They ran as far away from the monster as possible along a road from the forest, paved with coins they collected along the way. Wang Yuan thought he didn't know whether to be happy or sad. A giant dragon skull appeared in their path. The boys screamed in fright at what it was. Grasping his ancient dagger, Wang Yuan prepared for this meeting. The guy repeated to himself twice not to panic and activated his stealth skill. Using his agility, he quickly moved to the places where the parasites were hiding. His fellow travelers looked on with admiration as he coped with this task. Wang Yuan thought that he seemed to be much more effective at killing parasites. The only thing left to do was to destroy the parasites in the eye of the dinosaur monster, and the boy went there. But it turned out that it was not so easy because there was an invisible protective shield. The dragon reacted and threw the boy away with its bone horn. He landed right in the bushes near his fellow travelers, who watched the giant dragon's actions with open mouths. Wang Yuan got up and shouted that the slugs had shields. Lu Chen replied that whether they did or not, the parasites had now captured the dragon. The dragon began to approach and they again began to run into the bushes trying to hide. A giant toothy maw hovered right over them, looking for a victim. A notification appeared that there was special information on the island. The difference in levels between the players and the monster was too great, so they opened the opportunity to purchase VIP mode. The game mode will be paused while in the purchase mode. The item they choose will reduce the difficulty of the task. In this game mode, coins will point in the right direction. With the help of coins, you can get to the volcano in the center of the island to escape from the dragon bones. You can also use invulnerability for a short time. You need to go to the store to buy equipment that matches the level of the dragon's bones. Si Yuan shouted that it was not bad, and Lu Chen added that they could use some easier play. Wang Yuan agreed to take it and asked how many points he had spent. The system informed him that 20,000 points had been deducted from his balance. Given the available 1,035 points, his debt is 18,965 points. However, he has nothing to worry about since he is the first in the ranking and has been entrusted with 20,000 points on credit. His newly received points will not be automatically deducted. The repayment period is 20 days. The guy sighed and said it was okay. At least they will be safe. But the path shown by the coins could not be called safe either. They had to cross a river with crocodiles, ride on vines with snakes, one of which was Zi Yuan with a vine and grabbing the snake by the tail. And with the others, the very volcano they were supposed to reach appeared on the horizon. Still, to get to the volcano, they had to walk a long way. On their way, there was a large chasm over which an old suspension bridge was swaying. Pointing in the direction, the magician growled that it was a volcano and suggested running. Hua Huan saw the abyss and said that they had really climbed so high. Wang Yuan, who ran ahead first, told his friends that he had only a little time left. He had only taken a few steps when a giant boulder hit the bridge piers. A notification appeared that the rotten dragon bones had successfully used the throw skill. Trying to get away, Wang Yuan said irritably that he had caught up with them very quickly. It has been reported that after the start of the game, the rotten dragon bones entered the unconscious pursuit mode for 2 hours. After the time has elapsed, they switched to attack mode. Waving his cape with daggers, the guy shouted that he was fed up with it. He managed to throw and stab the dagger and then pull himself up with the help of his cloak. When he was almost out, he asked his friends if they were all okay. He saw that Lu Chen had used a block and gained temporary invulnerability to deter the dragon's attacks. Little Hua Jian tried to strike with his sword to pierce the invisible shield of the dragon. Hearing Wang Yuan's voice, Si Yuan said that their bro had returned. The system reports that the analysis of the teleportation stone item is complete. You can determine the location of the player who has moved. Finally, after waiting for the analysis to be completed, she breathed a sigh of relief. The girl laughed and said that she was really a genius. He could not beat her in the knowledge of the code of their world, and she said she would finish him off soon. The bird remarked that it took her 2 hours to figure out what he had created in a few minutes. He added sarcastically that this was a great result. She got angry and shouted that it was no big deal. At least they now know where he hid. And then she asked where he had teleported to. The system showed that he was sitting quietly in the church, right on the throne. When she saw this, she shouted in anger that he dared to hide right in her house. Her kite hissed that perhaps at the moment he pinned it to the tree, it had taken out her temple data. She screamed that it was some kind of dirty trick. The girl screamed that now she wouldn't even dream of leaving her. Suddenly appearing before him, she attacked him with her staff with daggers on the ribbons. However, at the same moment, her target teleported again, and the daggers did not reach her. She screamed that he was going to get her. The bird asked her if she would spend 2 hours analyzing the teleportation stone again. She asked him back if he thought she would give up that easily. The boy scratched an image of an angry girl hunting him on a tree trunk. Smiling, he said that he did not think he would start scribbling such scribbles. He added that he was sure that this stupid girl would not even realize that he had moved back to the place he came from. He thought that it was obvious that the church was their temporary base. And although it was not much, he managed to get some useful information. But what do the creators of this game want to achieve? Do they want the losers to become fertilizer and the winners to become seeds? But why do they need all this? But first, you need to make sure that the rest of the players are not in danger. Judging by the description of the Escape of Parasites task, even the first player on the list will have a hard time completing it. Deciding to take another chance, he used teleportation again to get to the Dragon Valley. Of course, at that time, Yaoan simply could not have known that the Bone Dragon had already been defeated. The system congratulated you on completing the hidden quest Escape of the Parasites. They were awarded 2 parasites and 50 points. In the next message, they were congratulated on completing the hidden quest of the highest difficulty level, the Tomb of the Ancient Dragon. The reward is 1 Ancient Dragon Bone, 1 Ancient Dragon Honor, 1 outstanding gift box that can be opened upon arrival at the main island, and 200 points. However, the Ancient Dragon Bone and equipment purchased in the store were blocked. Unlocking will be available on the 80th level. With a broad smile, Wang Yuan said that they seemed to have somehow managed. He also noted that the boys had done a good job. He emphasized that he was able to get to these parasites only because they were able to break the shield of this bone dragon. Wang Yuan exclaimed that this was their joint victory over the monster. Smiles appeared on the faces of his friends. As he stood up, Lu Achen felt a sharp pain in his left shoulder and groaned. But in a few seconds, the system notified me that the dislocation condition had passed due to the return of its characteristics to normal. With a sigh of relief, Lu Achen said that they just did what they had to do. Hua Zhuan added that thanks to his older brother, he was able to improve his sword skills, and he thanked Wang Yuan. He thought they had become much stronger since their first meeting. But why can't he improve his performance with better equipment? Why is it still at the first level? A message appeared congratulating all those who managed to hold out until dawn. A new stage will begin soon enough. The traveler Hua Huan received 250 points for the quest and 110 points for the battle. That made a total of 360. The traveler Lu Achen received 250 points for the quest and 110 points for the battles. The total is 360. Traveler Zi Zhiyuan received 250 points for the quest and 60 points for the battle. The total is 310. Lu Achen shouted that he knew he would be a trap. He shouted back that he was just using buff spells. And what's wrong with saving some mana for a more emergency? When Wang Yuan got only 20 points for the battle, Hua Huan noticed that he got the least points this time, and asked if he had given them a chance to earn points. He replied that this time they had made more effort than he had. 5 players have fulfilled the conditions. Their health has been restored so they can continue. Players are asked to move to a safe area to complete the study. Wang Yuan asked if everyone was ready. Hua Jun said yes and suggested that we continue, but where is this safe zone? The announcement said that in order to give players an unforgettable experience, the dense forest would also be destroyed. Almost the entire island except for the yellow zone will be destroyed. Therefore, they are asked to get to the safe zone as soon as possible. It was also said that the so-called cleaning might seem a bit scary to them. Frightened by what he saw, Zi Zhiyuan shouted for them to see what was going on. The system informed them that there was no reason to worry. They just needed to get to the safe zone in time. The smallest circle of the safe zone will be around the volcano, and since they have chosen a hidden path, they have only 10 minutes to get there. One of the guys exclaimed in alarm that it would take 10 minutes, since there wasn't even a bridge. Shi Jiyuan thought that sometimes he wondered if he was even human. He did not notice the fear inherent in normal people. Wang Yuan said that if they can neither go forward nor go back, there is still an option. Having already jumped, he shouted that the only thing left to do was to jump down. And he doesn't understand the logic behind the guy's actions. But every time, by some miracle, this guy manages to find the right key to the origin of this level. In the description of the item Fern Wings, it was said that they are thin like cicada wings, but strong and reliable. That's why travelers often use them to enjoy flying. This is a consumable item with a strength of 100 out of 100. So Zi Zhiyuan asked if his bro was an NPC guide for newcomers. Wang Yuan seemed not to hear what he asked, and Zi Zhiyuan said that it was not important. I thought to myself, why did he ask him that? After that, he said that he was actually very curious how he found out that these funds were hidden downstairs. The boy's answer was very unexpected. Wang Yuan smiled and said that he did not know. Shi Jiyuan said that's how it is. Obviously, his extensive experience played a key role here, and I thought, how can you play with your life like that? He said that since the game was created to appeal to people, the locations will hide many secrets that will appeal to researchers. It's not good for the game if players die too often, so he thought there might be something hidden below. Then Zi Zhiyuan looked at Lu Achen, who was flying behind him. Wang Yuan said that if this place was created on the basis of Uranus, they should come here. A wild hunter was hiding in the thick of the forest watching the newcomers. They were congratulated on the activation of a side quest. They need to break through the siege of evil mountain monkeys and get to the volcano. The condition for completing the quest is to find wings and get to the volcano by air. As a reward, the wings from the consumables will become permanent and another 100 points. Wang Yuan warned the boys to be careful and told them that they had a new quest. They reported that the transport was under attack. Each hit reduces the strength of the wings by 10 points. He had almost reached the sharp wooden spear that the evil monkeys were throwing at them. The sharp sword easily cut the wooden spear into pieces before it could reach the target. Lu Achen remarked that the monkeys are such impudent bastards. They have already flown so far and they are still chasing them. Hua Hua noticed that his older brother had the lowest health score, so he should fly a little behind them. The monkeys were really very persistent and stubbornly pursued the boys. They kept throwing spears at them. They managed to hit Lu Achen's wings once, and his vehicle lost 10 points of strength. Little Hua Huan missed 2 spears, and the vehicle lost 20 points of strength. But even before that, the spear left a scratch on his face and immediately deducted 3 points of health. Wang Yuan said things are bad. None of them can fight in the air, and they don't have the skills. Then long-range attacks. That's the only way they can fight back. The boy called out to Xie Zhiyuan, but he shouted that he did not know how to attack with magic. Then Wang Yuan said that he did not ask him to join the fight. He made a sign and shouted that he meant those things. He asked if Shi Jiyuan remembered how many he had collected at the first location. Then the magician realized what he was talking about. The guy jumped from the wings, which were almost falling off, torn by the spear. Wang Yuan flew with Ji Jiyuan. The latter said in a trembling voice that they were so high up and remarked that he could have sat on Lu Achen. Wang Yuan objected and explained that then he would have to constantly fly over and hand him his grenades, and this way is easier. Activating the throwing mode, the guy started throwing explosive berries at the monkeys. The berries hit the target and drove away the frightened monkeys who survived the explosion. For a while, he quickly threw berries at the monkeys to kill as many as possible. By scattering the berries in different directions, he created a safe landing site. They sighed heavily and were glad to finally feel the ground under their feet. They were congratulated on the successful completion of the quest. Thanks to his actions, player Wang Yuan receives the title of Air Commander. Players Hua Huan and Lu Achen receive the title of Winged Guardians. And Xie Zhiyuan is awarded the title of Mobile Ammunition Box. The boy noticed that someone was confidently approaching them from the forest. Smiling, the girl called out to the guy and asked if they needed help. She put her staff to his wounded shoulder to heal him. Lu Achen immediately felt the effect of her treatment. The pain and discomfort quickly disappeared. She also brought her staff to the wounds of little Hua Jian. His wounds healed immediately and he also felt healthy and full of energy. Noticing how satisfied and happy his fellow travelers looked, he also wanted to take advantage of the opportunity. He called her a sister and added that she was a wonderful holy sister with the kindest heart, and then he asked if she could treat him as well. Turning sharply so that her staff hit him, she replied that he did not need it. With a snicker, Lu Achen noticed that even a stranger noticed that he was constantly pissing. The man immediately shouted that it was not necessary to strain your muscles to be useful. He asked which of them had thought to bring explosive berries with them, and who was carrying their turret all this time. He emphasized that although he did not have any wounds, he definitely suffered more than they did. When she approached Wang Yuan, he said he was thanking the priestess for her help. The priestess looked closely into the boy's eyes, trying to see what interested her. After going through the options for attacking Wang Yuan, she thought that everything was the same as it was then. She thought that she simply could not foresee a future in which she could finish him off. This guy is too strong. There will always be all sorts of interesting troubles around such a personality, as well as the rare rewards of battles between groups of many lost lives and the hiring of thugs. Number 27 is a priestess in the real world. Before joining the game, she was an assassin working for an underground organization. She already saw her future as full of wealth and all kinds of luxuries. He thought, don't people shake hands at such moments? Maybe he should put it down now. Something told him she didn't like it. However, after a few seconds, the girl did give him her hand and shook it. She broke into a smile and told Wang Yuan that she was glad to meet him. With a sigh of relief, he shouted that he was also very pleased to meet you. Shai Xian noticed that something was wrong with this priestess. She was so cold with them, but not with Brother Yuan. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind that further strengthened his suspicions. He thought that something was obviously wrong. She is trying to lure him to her, and the three of them got to this place only with the help of their brother. Without him, they would have died at the initial location. This priestess got here all by herself. One is a healer and the other is a smasher. These two will do just fine without them. He decided that he could not let this happen. Shi Zhiyuan turned to his brother Wang Yuan and asked him to introduce them to this beautiful priestess. After all, they had experienced so much together. Then he emphasized that he had done so much that they had become very close and had become a separate team. She thought he was just a henchman. She said she had no doubt that they were a good team. She added that there was no need for an introduction and surprised the guy with this. The priestess began to tell us that she had encountered them when the quest to find fellow travelers began. The first level slugs were so insignificant that all they needed was a sign to stick to the cannonball with the inscription, "Hit here." When she quickly dealt with them, she went in search. There she met a knight with muscles instead of brains, and at the next location she saw a frightened child who couldn't even take a step. So she decided that she would go on by herself. She didn't want to be part of such a team. Wang Yuan told her not to talk like that. They all started somewhere, and the main thing is to learn from their mistakes. Then the priestess said that there was another one. This is the magician who has teleportation. Lu Chen shouted that he had another skill, but he kept silent about it. She said that now he would not be able to sit back. After all, here at the volcano, they would need his strength. This was the main quest of the volcano trial. The ship is waiting for them at the top of the volcano. All they have to do is get there. Their last challenge is climbing to the top. The hint said that the fatigue option was unlocked. There are rest areas on the mountain so they can continue their journey. It was emphasized not to forget about this parameter and periodically check its level. As he was climbing, he thought that in the past he would never have done this, because he is a weakling, and if it does not rely on the strong, it simply cannot survive. Shi Zhiyuan fell off the cliff and began to fall down with frantic screams. As he slid down, he desperately tried to feel some kind of support under his fingers to grab hold. Finally, he managed to grab hold of a small ledge and hold on. He thought that now he had to show his brother his usefulness. Lu Chen asked if it would work for sure. After all, he had been crumpling here for half an hour. He asked if he should bring it at least halfway through. The magician shouted back at him to shut up. He asked if he had forgotten what the priestess had said. Only he could climb this mountain. She offered to explain everything first. Climbing the mountain is not difficult in itself. However, you can't do it with endurance alone. And after trying many ways, she failed to reach even the first rest area because of fatigue. Snorting, Lu Chen said that perhaps the priestess class was not suitable for this kind of task, and he wanted to try it himself. But very soon he went down, losing 14 points of health. A warning appeared that his health had dropped to a very low level. While healing him, she said that they were now convinced that it was not the classroom. Sai Zhiyuan thought that his health level was not even close to Lu Chen's, and if he fell from the same height, he would definitely be finished. The priestess said that things were quite different with their little magician. He can easily teleport to the rest area when he reaches a certain height. All he had to do was climb the mountain and use his magic. The strategy is called Volcano. The magician gets to the recreation area and drops the ropes. The rest of them climb up with the ropes and recover their fatigue level. Wang Yuan thought that he could actually use his unique skill to reset his fatigue level. Lu Chen said he couldn't believe he would have to rely on him. He laughed and said he was just waiting for an opportunity to prove himself. Wang Yuan thought that he seemed to be very inspired by the idea. So Wang Yuan asked with a smile if Zhi Zhiyuan was willing to try. But in Zhi Zhiyuan's mind, it sounded like he said that if he didn't want to, he could leave, shouting that he had no problems and that he would not let him down. Zhi Zhiyuan set off to conquer the mountain. Wang Yuan thought that maybe he was really waiting for an opportunity to prove himself. He would give him more such opportunities in the future. But for some reason, he feels that it will come back to bite him. But it's still worth it. Zhi Zhiyuan thought that this first recreation area was finally visible. His fatigue was already 98 points out of 100. He thought that the distance was not so great, so it should work. After catching his breath, he shouted for them to watch carefully. The boy used a spell. A message appears that the unique skill Fire Rotation has been successfully activated. He would rise with the idea that he should be the closest person among the members of his brother's team. However, it turned out that the guy missed his destination and stopped right in front of the platform. Falling, he remembered the rope and shouted a spell to secure it. The rope tightly wrapped around the post, which swayed as the boy hung from it. The guy held onto the rope tightly and sighed heavily, trying to overcome his fear. They were waiting at the foot of the hill when they heard him shouting that he had given it his all and done it. Wang Yuan didn't even watch what he was doing while he was cutting the meat. Smiling, Wang Yuan praised Zhi Zhiyuan and said it was a good job. When the guy lowered the ropes as planned, they began to climb. A congratulation on the successful completion of the quest appears. The reward is 100 points and a climber's kit. And since they have fulfilled all the conditions of the quest, they will not lose their points as a reward. At the same time, they were congratulated on completing the quest finding fellow travelers. As a result, they completed all the main quests. They heard that a ship headed for the island was about to arrive and turned in the direction of the voice. The boys were delighted to see a real ship. Zhi Zhiyuan shouted that it was finally over. The system reported that they had successfully completed all the tasks. Given their achievements, they suggest that they continue to explore the island. The time allotted for completion was 72 hours. The time they managed is 25 hours, 10 minutes, and 10 seconds. The remaining time will be automatically converted into the ship's safety margin. In other words, the strength of their ship is equal to the time allotted for the passage, minus the time they have managed and divided by the number of members of their team. And so 46 hours, 49 minutes, and 50 seconds divided by 5 equals 9. Whole 2/10 adds 0 whole, 98 hundredths adds 0 whole 1/10. As a result, they get the final strength of the ship to be 10 whole 28 tenths. As soon as the guide wished them good luck, a volcanic eruption occurred, and their ship broke into 2 parts. The message said that their ship had been damaged and 50 points were deducted from its strength. Falling from the wrecked ship, Zhi Zhiyuan shouted that they must be kidding. They used the wings they received as a gift from the previous quest. But the priestess did not have such wings, and she fell rapidly down into the volcano's mouth. He thought that the eruption had already begun, so there was no need to guess what would happen to her. He decided that he could never let this happen. He has to make it. Wang Yuan took the opportunity to hand over the items and shouted to her to accept them. The priestess received a message that the player Wang Yuan wanted to give her wings. The system asked if she would accept the gift. The girl looked at the boy carefully and said that she accepted the gift. When she got her wings, she pointed them in the direction of the boy to pick him up. Trying to reach for her hand, he said he knew she would guess. Pieces of rock thrown by the volcano hit the wings and changed their course. His hand slid very close to hers, but he failed to grab hold of her. Lu Achen shouted at Wang Yuan to try to throw his scarf at them. The guy said he couldn't do it because it was too far away. Then he was shouted to go to his inventory and look at the status. Hua Jian shouted to Lu Achen that he would give his wings to his older brother. He replied that he understood and would pick him up right away. He was already very close to the volcano's mouth and realized that he had no chance to make it. The guy shouted that Wang Yuan was too low and he couldn't pass him the wings. Wang Yuan shouted that he would no longer be able to explore the main island with them. Smiling, Wang Yuan asked his friends to forgive him for this. Little Hua Jian could not hold back his tears of regret for losing his friend and older brother. Sai Zhiyuan also tried to contain his despair. Only the priestess looked very calm. The hot lava began to melt his scarf, which remained floating on its surface. At the last moment, someone's hand grabbed him tightly and began to lift him up. The guy told him not to worry. He doesn't believe in magic, so the lava won't bite him. He said his name was Jin Yao An and asked if he remembered him. Jin Yao An flew astride a real dragon and held Wang Yuan's hand as they climbed. Wang Yuan was surprised when he asked if he remembered him and asked if they had met before. His question seemed strange to Jin Yao An. He wondered if the boy didn't remember his voice, and he thought that the player at the top of the list would be more cautious. But it's even good. Now he is sure that he will not ask him how he managed to use the closed communication function. For now, he is not allowed to reveal his identity. So the guy said that maybe he was just confused. He apologized and suggested that Wang Yuan get up first. But the guy didn't back down and said that he had definitely seen his name somewhere before. But a second later, he exclaimed that he remembered. He had seen him on the list of the weakest players. Wang Yuan said that Jin Yao An was first on the list and his name was next. Jin Yao An replied that perhaps they were destined to meet. He noticed that he was able to get to the volcano on his own and even tamed the dragon. That's impressive. The system reported that its performance was impressive. He received the maximum value of the characteristics available at the entry level, and congratulated him on reaching the top of the entry-level player rating. Then he decided that he didn't need to attract the attention of administrators right now, and would have to hide information about his characteristics. In fact, they are at two different ends of a long line of players. But they have both come a long, long way, and all thanks to Wang Yuan. After all, he opened his eyes then. Little Hua Jian shouted that he was thanking the master for saving their brother. Impressed by their appearance on the dragon, Wang Yuan asked if they had already had dragons. Lu Achen replied that they had. They just suddenly flew out of the clouds. He suggested that perhaps that ship was another elaborate way to kill them. He heard Zi Zhiyuan's voice shouting at his brother not to dare to risk himself like that anymore. Zi Zhiyuan said that not every time he would be saved by a brave knight on a dragon. He added that they could do it without the priestess, but not without him. He was very happy to see that everyone was there. Lu Achen asked if he was the only one who thought that the magician was worried about his own skin, and Zi Zhiyuan, as always, indignantly muttered that this was not the case. Jin Yaoen thought what a surprise this was. This must be the first group to be so carefree. Thus, on flying dragons, they reached the main island of Uranos. Sitting on her staff, which floated in the air, she met all the players who managed to get to the main island. One of the players asked if she was a moderator. He said that he had reached the main island just as it was written in the quest, and then he asked if he could finally leave the game. She threw a displeased look at the boy and told him not to distract her. "My sister is busy right now." The girl thought it was strange. Dragons weren't supposed to appear so early. Was it some kind of bug again? The crowd of players began to demand that she immediately let them out of the game and not keep them here against their will. Otherwise, they would all kill her together. The girl just smiled at these threats, and a moment later a whole bunch of colored ribbons flew into the sky. She turned the Rebels players into firecrackers with colored ribbons. At the same time, she said they were ungrateful and added that she liked them much better that way. Then she noted that they must have already had some thoughts about their deaths in the game. If they still have doubts about something, they can check it out for themselves. She will be happy to help them with this. Wang Yuan wanted to shout something, but his friends quickly pushed him to the ground and covered his mouth. She said that since they were so impatient, she would tell them everything and explain. With a smile, she continued that she would tell them right away that only one of them would make it out alive. She told them that they were the masters of the 12 gates. The girl told them that for destroying each gate master, they would receive food. That food in turn would feed the dry tree. But when the tree fully blooms and regains its strength, a second spring will also come in their lives. One of the players asked her where to look for the gate. She told them not to worry about it. The ground beneath their bodies began to shake. It seemed to everyone that an earthquake had started. She added that right now the seeds have begun to germinate, and giant shoots began to crawl out of the ground. Bursting out laughing, she said she hoped she would not have to repeat herself, and then she wished everyone good luck. The shoots of the future tree grew, sweeping away everything in its path. They had to run away as fast as they could to avoid being killed by the earthquake that caused the tree to grow. The intertwined shoots formed a giant tree trunk with its crown hiding somewhere above the clouds. When everything quieted down and the tree stopped growing, the seven announced that they were welcome to Uranos. The message said that it was a campfire recreation area. It suggested that adventurers sit around the fire to rest. At that time, they and their equipment would recover from the damage. As a team, they gathered around the campfire, wondering what to do next. Wang Yuan turned to his friends and said that he wanted to go through this gate. Then the guy asked them if they could just wait for him here. Shi Zhiyuan asked him anxiously if he wanted to go through all these gates alone. He affirmed. Lu Achen joined the conversation and asked if he understood what he had just said. He confirmed it again. The guy thought that it was all his fault, and he didn't want to hear people's cries of despair and fear anymore. Wang Yuan told them that in order to get out of this game alive, they had to defeat all the gatekeepers. He clenched his fist menacingly and told them to be sure that he would defeat them all. Then the priestess remarked that these were such loud words and asked if he was sure he could handle everything alone. Sai Zhiyuan asked if he had met stronger players and was disappointed in them. The guy replied with a worried expression that of course not. He added that he didn't consider himself a strong player either. After that, Lu Achen said that it was not up to him to decide whether they should go there or not. The priestess added that this was true and said that she would also choose to take her own destiny into her own hands. Shouting that his brother would not leave him and that he would not survive this, Zi Zhiyuan rushed to Wang Yuan. The magician thought it didn't matter if he was inside or outside the gate. If his brother was not with him, he would be in danger everywhere. With great regret in his voice, little Huajian said that he did not want to leave his older brother either. The girl added that even if he did not take them with him, they would simply join the second team. Hua Qian told his brother that he would train even harder with the sword. Jin Yaowen said that he would also be interested to see what was there. Falling at the boy's feet, Zi Zhiyuan tearfully begged him to take him with him. Lu Achen said that only a group of 5 people can enter the first gate, and since they were all so eager, he would let them through and wait outside. He emphasized that this is possible only under one condition. They have to promise him to come back alive. Then they all answered Lu Achen with joy and friendship what they promised. The system reported that they had passed through the gate and arrived in the realm of ignorance. The description said that there was no information about the quest at the moment. As a reward for completing the quest, players will receive the Daredevil's Proof, which allows them to open the upgrade system. In case of failure, they will die. Using the staff instead of a sled, Wang Yuan exclaimed that it glides nicely. The magician shouted that it was his only staff. The priestess tapped her staff and said that the lake was covered with ice. And then she added that she wondered if there were any fish there. Jinyu Yaoan sniffled when he saw how the boy's trip on the staff ended. The staff hit something on the way and they flew in different directions on the ice. He thought he was beginning to doubt whether his choice was the right one. When he approached them, he suggested that they first discuss where they had gotten to. But before he could even finish his thought, they shouted that they had found the quest item. Shi Zhiyuan shouted out that it was a real quest item and drew attention to the fact that it was even illuminated. The guy was just shocked. Were they just fooling around and immediately stumbled upon a clue? A slight smile appeared on his face. He realized why the atmosphere in their group was so relaxed. They were literally playing this game. Each of them suggested a method to get the object out of the ice. Huajian wanted to take it out with a sword. The priestess suggested that the magician melt the ice with fire, to which he replied that he would be more likely to blow it up. Watching their efforts, Jin Yaoan thought that perhaps this game tactic had its advantages. Wang Yuan tried his best to pull out the object that was frozen in the ice. Little Huajian helped him by breaking the ice with his sword. Jin Yaoan joined them and used one hand to easily pull the giant hammer out of the ice. A message appeared congratulating them on receiving the Hammer of the Destroyed Realm. This is a quest item of a unique rank. The description said that it is a shabby, mysterious hammer that can destroy all obstacles on this ice path and find hidden passages. And then there was a greeting with the start of the main quest called Prove Your Bravery. Jin Yaoan noted that the report gave them only crumbs of information, but even with this and observations, they could understand 2 things. The first thing is how this quest item works, and the second is that they will soon be attacked from below. The guy said he was sure that this circle would follow them all the way to land. In other words, one of them will definitely have to dive into the water and prove his courage. Shi Zhiyuan thought there were too many of them, and they're too big. It's pure suicide. They were puzzled and surprised by Jin Yaoan's statement that he would do it himself. He emphasized that he is a warrior, so who better than him to cover the team with his body? And besides, he has good characteristics. The guy said he was more concerned about what would happen after the ice broke. Jin Yaoan noted that perhaps one of these monsters would be able to surface and get one of them. And then he suggested that we could start by coming up with an effective tactic to fight these monsters. Wang Yuan nodded that if these demon fish come ashore, they will get a huge debuff, and it will not be difficult to deal with them. He confirmed and added that this would mainly affect their movement speed. So if these fish do come up, they will be able to cope with them. Swinging his hammer, Wang Yuan said he had come up with a safer strategy. Saying that he would do it himself, the guy quickly dived into the water and disappeared under the ice. Jin Yaoan asked how much health Wang Yuan had. The magician replied that he had only 1 point and emphasized that this was too reckless. The priestess confirmed that it was really too much, but little Huajian said he believed in his big brother. A message appears that their partner Wang Yuan has received a freezing effect. Their partner offers to reset the dungeon. The system asked if they agreed. This proposal for a reboot surprised and confused Jin Yaoan. Then a Zi Zhiyuan said that he just wanted to test the mechanics of dungeon reset. The priestess angrily tapped her staff and said that she did not agree, and then she suggested that Wang Yuan should not be taken out of the ice for the time being. The guy caught shivers while sitting in a cave and trying to warm himself by the fire. He could not even imagine that the dungeon would also have recreation areas. It's very convenient and you don't even have to go outside. Wang Yuan asked them to stop being angry with him. Jin Yao An said that before he arbitrarily tried to test the reset mechanics, he should have at least discussed it with them. The guy replied that he didn't know if it would work, so he decided to test it on himself. Then Jin Yao An said that this did not negate what he had said. Wang Yuan said that he was still the captain, so who should check? The guy said they didn't need a dead captain. I asked him if he didn't realize that they were worried about him. Wang Yuan laughed, and this reaction seemed rather strange to Jin Yao An. He doubted that he had understood him correctly. He said he promised to be much more careful next time. The priestess asked when he would finally tell us what was under the water. He replied that there were a lot of fish. Those fish are very large and toothy, but they are definitely not adapted to land. Fatigue underwater turns into asphyxiation. Once a second, one value is added. But that's not all. That's where the main object of their quest, proof of courage, lies. But to get there, they needed to solve the problem of rapid icing. Then Jin Yao An thoughtfully said that maybe he needed a suit. Their conversation was interrupted by a loud cry from Ziji Yuan asking for help. A terrible carnivorous plant grabbed the boy and pulled him towards itself with its long stems. The description said it was a fire vine monster, a powerful predator that mainly relies on its fruits. Although its fruits have the attribute of fire, it is very vulnerable to fire. The system notified them that their partner, Ziji Yuan, had already begun to digest and was losing 1 health point every 5 seconds. Wang Yuan grabbed his ancient dagger and shouted to his brother that he was leaving. However, Jin Yao An stood in front of Wang Yuan and told him to wait. He said he would go himself. With a few swings of his sword, Jin Yao An cut off several stalks of the fire vine. Wang Yuan was amazed that he could cut through the thick stalk so easily and noted that his sword was very sharp. Jin Yao An turned to the priestess and asked her to throw her shield over him. She did so, and he immediately rushed to the rescue of the screaming Zieju Yuan. The priestess said that he only had 3 seconds, so he had to hurry. The system reported that number 27 had used the shield skill on Jin Yao An. The boy simply nodded in agreement and began to disappear among the stems of the fire vine. The system reported that the guy had used the instant step skill. The fire vine had already tightly wrapped around Zieju Yuan when he reached him. He very clearly began to cut the stems that held their partner captive. The system reported that the player had used the horizontal cut skill. A moment later, they both landed on the ground, and the sharp ends of the cut stems rained down on them. The shield expired, and several stalks got stuck in Jin Yao An's back. The system reported that Jin Yao An's partner had suffered 18 points of health damage. Ziji Yuan thought that he was so fast that even the system notifications came late. Smiling, Jin Yao An said that 3 seconds was enough. Wang Yuan noted that he had excellent skills and was not talking about gaming. The priestess warned him not to move and told him that she would heal him. She came closer and pointed her staff at Jin Yao An's wounds. Meanwhile, the guys continued to fight off the attacks of the predatory fire vine. Hua Jin turned to his brother and noticed that the monster did not stop. It was still attacking with its vine. Wang Yuan replied that it looked like there were even more stems. He thought that the system had not notified them of the damage done to the monster, so it remained that way. Being the king, he said that she shouldn't expose her weakness. It will be immediately noticed and the player's task will be easier. He also asked if the vegetation shouldn't be afraid of fire, as it is a natural enemy. The AI then advised him to make the flower stick out its head and defeat it only with fire. Wang Yuan thought that he shouldn't have made things so complicated. Jin Yao An remarked that it did not harm him. Perhaps then we should use magic. Then Wang Yuan said that they would only defeat him with fire. He asked if he could get rid of the vines and clear the way for him. When Yao An was surprised, the guy told him that the weak point of such monsters is usually located in the very center of the flower. The fireball of their magician can switch places with him at any time, and it is very risky. If he can get rid of the vine for at least 1 second, that will be enough. Jin Yao An replied that Wang Yuan also used only physical attacks. The guy told him that he was right. The system reported that player Wang Yuan used the stealth skill. He told little Hua Jin to cover him for 5 seconds, and he immediately agreed. There was a report that Jin Yao An used the skill concentration of power. The guy warned Wang Yuan that the vines would recover quickly, so he had exactly 1 second. When they were both ready, Jin Yao An instantly rushed to attack. The energy from the jump was powerful enough to cause a strong shockwave. In less than a couple of seconds, Jin Yao An quickly cut all the stems of the fire vine monster. It was reported that due to the excessive use of the force concentration skill, he was paralyzed. Yao An thought that Wang Yuan had the rest of the case. The system warned that the monster had lost a lot of vines at once, so it got angry. Strength and agility increased by 100%, but defense decreased by 50%. The guy thought that his body did not obey him at all. He was numb all over, and his most powerful attack had almost no effect. Apparently, he spent too much energy taming the dragons in the Valley of the Dragons to get them to transport the players to safety. The key to the firewall is badly worn, and if he uses it again, the little girl will definitely find it. He has only 1 trump card left, and if he uses it now. When it seemed like it was the end, an impenetrable shield appeared in front of him. He said he had 3 seconds and noticed that the priestess was on time as usual. She said he was rejoicing too soon. With her level, she wouldn't be able to completely stop such an attack. The system reported that his health level had crossed a critical point. Jin Yao An's health is at 2 out of 25. The priestess exclaimed that it turned out that the boy had quite a lot of health. Little Hua Jian began to quickly chop down the vines that had pierced their partner. They managed for a moment to fend off the attacks of the fire vine to take their friend away. Jin Yaoan said that after using this skill, a fine is imposed. He asked the boys to be careful. Wang Yuan landed right in front of him and told him to take a break. Smiling, he said that he had already inserted a torch into the fire vine monster's mouth. Immediately after he said that, a powerful explosion occurred, which blew the monster to pieces. A congratulation on defeating the Firevine monster appears and they receive 100 points as a reward. With a sigh, the boy told Wang Yuan that he was not in such a hurry. He replied that it was just that the first torch went out because he ran too fast. They had to organize a second race. The system reported that they were well rested. Their performance and weapons were restored. Si Zhiyuan showed Wang Yuan the fruit and said that it was the berries of that monster, and there were many of them. When they opened their description, they read that this berry is very hot and warms perfectly. Wang Yuan said that with these berries, they would definitely not freeze. And with the words that I should try it, he threw one berry into my mouth. However, the berries had no effect, and the situation with icing repeated itself. The guy was shivering again, trying to warm up by the fire. After twisting the fruit in her hands, the priestess threw the berry into the fire and suggested that perhaps they should be baked first. In one voice, the boys asked her what she had said about baking. A few minutes later, the system reported that they had prepared a baked fire berry. The girl threw the finished berry at Wang Yuan and he caught it. A message appeared that the player received the gift of an approved drive plus 3 points. Baked fire berry warms up the body well. The berry lasts 5 minutes. He was amazed and exclaimed that it worked. She told him that other fruits and berries she had baked also had some effects. It was the same here. And then she suggested that we go to the lake. Wang Yuan said that his agility can be constantly improved, so he is the best candidate to get this quest item. Yao An agreed but noted that someone still needed to cover him. He told Yao An that there were too many fish for the two of them to go in alone. He would not be able to fight them all off, but he anticipated that he would be worried, so he prepared himself. He pointed to the rope around him and said that it would serve as his cover. Holding a piece of vine in his hands, Jin Yaoan asked in surprise what the cover was. Looking at the rope, the priestess asked if it was a vine from the volcano location. The guy said yes. These are the same ones they used to climb to the top of the volcano. And then he added that this vine was quite strong. Wang Yuan said that even if something went wrong there, they would be able to get him out of there. Then he asked Yaoan what he thought of the idea and whether he would no longer be so worried. After checking the strength of the vine, Jin Yaoan replied that it was definitely strong. The boy dived back into the water where he was immediately surrounded by monster fish. They began to attack the guy, sinking their sharp teeth into him. The system reported that the player Wang Yuan was using the navigator skill. The boys closely watched the movement of the vine that was tied to their friend's body. Judging by the movement of the vine, it seemed that it was just throwing itself from side to side. Peering into the water, Jin Yaoan mentally asked himself if he really had everything under control. His friends were eagerly waiting for their bro to reappear and come out on top. In the description of the navigator mode, it was said that after the target is marked by a contact or on the map, each player's movement will automatically adjust to the direction of the target. When using transport, the speed increases by 15%. If he is a captain, the speed of his team increases by 10%. The note emphasized that the second effect would be obtained by completing the quest. He was informed that his skill was activated and his direction was adjusted. Wang Yuan was happy to have this skill, and the bonuses from the skill turned out to be very useful. They were surprised at how quickly the message appeared that their partner had found the key to ignorance quest item. While they were praising their friend, the boy felt the vine twitch. He realized it was a signal and they started pulling the guy out of the cold lake. But when they saw that they had brought a bullet to the surface, they were quite confused. As usual, panicking, Si Zhiyuan shouted that why is there only this strange egg here? Angrily clutching the vine in his hands, he thought that Wang Yuan was very stubborn. He told him that before he dove, they had to discuss a few rules. First, when he dived, he had to make sure that the fish would not get him. And secondly, if the rope breaks, he must return immediately. He said he understood. Jin Yaoan asked the others to take care of the quest item, while he dived and checked on Wang Yuan. The priestess replied that she had given him another baked berry of the fire vine. As soon as he dived, he immediately encountered a giant monster fish and fought off its attack with his sword. The guy thought that there were many dangerous monsters in this lake, and he tied just one vine to the quest item to ensure his safety. Suddenly, he noticed Wang Yuan's red scarf in the monster fish's gaping mouth. Jin Yaoan wondered if this monstrous fish had eaten the boy. However, everything turned out to be quite different. The guy used the scarf to saddle the fish. Wang Yuan gestured for him to join in. However, the irritated Jin Yaoan had his own opinion on the matter. In a few seconds, Wang Yuan flew out of the hole and crashed onto the ice. His partners were surprised that he was tied up with his own scarf and immediately ran to him. The priestess asked Jin Yaoan, who was coming out of the water after her, if the boy was in danger. He said no and added that they shouldn't have worried about him. He said that when he found him, he was playing with one of the monsters. Wang Yuan shouted indignantly that this was not true and emphasized that he did not want to disturb them. The guy sat down and shouted that he could explain everything to them. He began by saying that the system congratulated him on finding the quest item Key to Ignorance. But he needs to bring this item to the surface in a minute or it will explode. As the countdown began, he began to think about how to lift it. The object did not fit under his clothes, so he would probably have to carry it in his arms. The system reported that the stealth skill was available for reuse in 2 minutes, but the item needed to be picked up in less than a minute. Therefore, it will not be possible to do it unnoticed either. Behind him, a giant monster fish appeared and aimed to attack him. On top of that, his foot got tangled in the algae and they held him down, preventing him from swimming away. The monster fish attacked him, and the guy let the bullet slip from his hands. The system reported that he was hit hard, and his shield suffered 70% damage. The guy thought that these fish were monsters, strong creatures, and it was good that the priestess had put up a shield for him in advance, otherwise he would have been killed. When the monster fish hit the boy again, his protective shield shattered. She piled her giant body on top of the guys and pinned him down so he couldn't get out. Suddenly, the boy saw 2 more predatory fish approaching him. However, those monster fish were clearly not targeting him, but his find. He breathed a sigh of relief when the fish swam past the object, so they were not interested in him after all. The predatory hungry fish were only interested in food and saw their prey in him. Pulling out his ancient dagger, he made an incision in the fish that pinned him to the bottom. Then another fish, having tasted the blood, pointed its sharp nose at the side of the fish he had wounded. And while the other fish were distracted by the wounded Wang Yuan, he managed to get out and swim to the quest item. The giant wounded fish fought off the others and started chasing the boy again. The boy thought that the fish was very vindictive and a sly smile appeared on his face. Wang Yuan successfully used his thug skill, stab in the back. Mentally, he noticed that his second initial skill had come in handy. The system informed him that he failed to nail the defense, and then he made another decision. He thought that if he could not overcome it, he might be able to ride it. And since the monsters were chasing him and not the object, he decided it was better to split up, especially since there were only 18 seconds left before the explosion. The guy was sure that with Yao An's strength, they would be able to pull the quest item to the surface in time, so he tied the object with a vine and gave a sign. With a smile, he emphasized that they could see he was right. They retrieved the object in less than 10 seconds. Ziju Wen said it was because Brother Jin thought something had happened to him. Ji Yuan emphasized that he pulled so fast that he did not even have time to grab it. Wang Yuan began to apologize, but Jin Yao An said offensively that he did not even want to listen to him, just as he did not listen to him. Then Wang Yuan said that he did listen to him and even prepared a vine as a safety net. Angry, Yao An shouted that he had prepared the vine. Only the vine that he had happily given him into his hands could guarantee his safety. But he had untied it at the first opportunity for the quest item, and this time everything really worked out. But what if the fish he had ridden had gone mad? Or what if those monsters had continued to chase him, leaving him no escape route? Wang Yuan replied that he just wanted to fulfill his mission. Only then would they have succeeded. Jin Yao An sighed and said that he understood his desire to get all these people out of the game as soon as possible. He added that he felt his intentions were sincere, but such behavior will certainly lead to Wang Yuan's death. The guy thought that he was so afraid that he would die because none of his comrades in arms could get into this game. But for some reason, he unconsciously began to perceive him as a real professional. But in reality, he is just a kid who is good at the game. So he apologized to Wang Yuan and said that he had overreacted. But he had to value his life more. There would be no point in fulfilling the mission if he died in the process. Suddenly, a priestess approached them and said it was time to finish the quest and look for new clues. The clue said that they had to use a hammer to break the object, and as instructed, Wang Yuan hit the ball several times with a hammer. They received congratulations on completing the first part of the main quest, Prove Your Courage, and also advice to memorize this key swing. They will need it later. Wang Yuan asked if they were talking about the hammer or something else. He received a greeting with the start of the second part of the Prove Your Skills quest. Noticing something, Wang Yuan shouted to his partners to get behind him as quickly as possible. Monster wolves appeared from the fog and began to rush at their team. The wolves attacked them from all sides and kept coming out of nowhere. The boy said that he did not think that after the quest with the monster fish, they would be surrounded by wolves. While throwing away the wolves with a hammer, Wang Yuan exclaimed that it would be a long battle. Wang Yuan asked if anyone had any ideas on how to get out of here. She turned to Wang Yuan and asked him if there was a way to break the invisible walls in this game. He was surprised, and she told him that she hadn't had time to understand all the mechanisms of the game, so she didn't know much. This place is called the Kingdom of Ignorance, and the hammer in its hands is the hammer that destroys kingdoms, so she assumed that their hammer might be the key. Ji Yuan continued that the hammer could destroy this place, and most likely that was what the clue in the egg was hinting at. Wang Yuan asked if they were hinting that the hammer was the key to getting out of this place. The magician asked that in order to get out of here, they would need to destroy this kingdom. The priestess said that probably one passage would be enough, but in other games, invisible walls could not be destroyed, so she was unsure of her assumption. Wang Yuan said it was worth a try. If this egg symbolizes the entire Kingdom of Ignorance, then it must also have a shell that they can break through. He suggested just walking in one direction until they hit a wall. Suddenly, a sword flew right in front of his face and blocked his path. Having shot the wolf that had managed to sneak up on Jin Yao An, he warned him not to forget about the danger. After finishing off the wolf with a hammer, Wang Yuan noticed that this cunning creature decided to attack from the back. Jin Yao An said he heard what they were talking about. The idea is good, but because the fog is too thick, they can't pinpoint the exact location and direction they need to go. He said that in such situations you can't go at random. In such situations, you first need to understand them. His sword shattered on impact. The system reported that he had exhausted the strength of a normal 1.5 sword. Taking this opportunity, the wolf clutched at Jin Yao An's arm with its fangs. He wanted to use his backup weapon, but the system gave him an error. The system said that they could not use the spare weapon while exploring the secret realm. So Yao An simply snapped the wolf's neck with his bare hands. Wang Yuan shouted to his friends to cover Yao An, and little Hua Jian said he would do it. Jin Yao An thought that now they could only fight back and think about future actions. But sooner or later, the balance they had captured would be upset. When Wang Yuan offered him a hammer, he refused, and said that if he broke the only key, they would be stuck in this realm forever. He also emphasized that it would be better for him to switch to his dagger. Saying that the hammer could not be put into the inventory, he threw the hammer to Zizhi Yuan and asked him to hold it. The priestess called out to Wang Yuan and told him that her staff had also cracked. He said he understood, and it was obvious that they would have to use the restart and think carefully about a plan of action. After the restart, they returned to their resting place. History repeated itself, and they restarted again. But this time it didn't work out as they had planned, and they had to restart again. Zizhi Yuan thought that as soon as their torches went out, the wolves would become even more aggressive, and he had lost count of how many times this had happened. According to their words, the hammer is the key to escape from this place. You just need to break the boundaries of the map. Even he can do it. She said that it would not work this time either. Wang Yuan told them not to worry. Next time they would just run in a straight line. The system reported an error. One of the players refused to restart. Wang Yuan heard something explode behind him. It was a fireball. It was the work of Xieqi Yuan. He shouted that there was no point in restarting the kingdom every time. Saying that he wanted to survive, he moved on. Wang Yuan shouted at his brother not to do anything stupid. The guy shouted to them to accept the restart. If he has something to offer, they will definitely listen to him. Wolves had already gathered around him, and Zizhi Yuan shouted back to his brother that it was too late. After telling his older brother to take care of himself, Zizhi Yuan released several fireballs to destroy the wolves around him. Wang Yuan thought that he could only summon a single fireball before, so he had also managed to awaken subtypes of his skill. This guy didn't stand still. He was constantly improving. With a satisfied smile, Wang Yuan remarked how fast the players were developing. Now he understood why he refused to restart. With his skill, he could hit an invisible wall. Jin Yao An interrupted him and told him not to be so optimistic. The guy said that he had no guarantee that they would be able to leave the kingdom from the same fault as Seiji Yuan. He noted that there was almost zero visibility. They won't even know which way he went. Suddenly, Wang Yuan grabbed him by the arm and he began to ride fast on something. Wang Yuan said that he was clearing the way and that he would take care of the direction. The system informs you that Wang Yuan has turned on the navigator skill. The destination is his partner, Xie Zhiyuan. Xie Zhiyuan thought that he actually hated this skill of his. The system reported that player Xia Zhiyuan had activated the fire roll skill, and he hates it because this skill constantly brings him pain. He tried to restore his health and mana on the go by eating berries and mushroom. Based on his past, the system has selected a unique skill for him. This unique skill can be activated by fulfilling special conditions. He was congratulated on reaching the state of memorizing the essence. He has unlocked the unique skill, fire shifting. Xie Zhiyuan thought that even the game could determine that running away was the only thing he knew. He felt something hit him hard on the face, but he could not see anyone in front of him. Then he stretched his arms forward and realized that this was the invisible wall. With joy, the boy shouted to his brother that he had found an invisible wall. The guy thought that if he were here, he would say that Zizhi Yuan was good. Swinging the hammer, Zizhi Yuan thought that his brother was just a very bad judge of character. At the same time, they were rushing very fast with the navigator skill in the direction of Zieji Yuan. Jin Yaoan thought that if there are no wolves here, then they must be right next to the egg. During all this time, they did not meet a single wolf that would attack them from the front, and the fog began to clear. Wang Yuan said that they were close. They had almost reached Zieji Yuan's marker. Yaoan asked him if he had reached the border of the map, and he replied that he had most likely. The guy was about to say that they would find out right now, but he abruptly stopped talking. A frozen guy was standing right in their path, and a hammer was lying next to him. The priestess asked if he was sure it was him. Wang Yuan replied that his skill said it was him, and little Hua Jian noticed that Zieji Yuan's weapons and robe were lying nearby. Wang Yuan said he believes he left them as a signpost for them. After feeling the wall, the priestess said that he had found it, but did not have time to break it. Who or what turned him into an ice statue? Then Wang Yuan suggested taking him to the fire, and when he thawed out, they would question him thoroughly. She said it was a good idea and added that she didn't want to get involved. The system reported that the rest area only restores. It does not get rid of curses in similar conditions. The priestess said she also had no purification skills. She said that he would have to go to the spit. They could not help him here. Wang Yuan asked for permission to try it first. Yao An agreed and asked him to be careful. Most likely, Zieji Wen's condition is related to the attempt to destroy the border. Then he said that he had already eaten some warming berries beforehand. Wang Yuan, accelerating, hit the invisible wall with a giant hammer with all his might. The system congratulated them on the activation of the third part of the main quest, Prove Your Determination. They were told that they had chosen the right path, but whether they would be able to follow it to the end. The countdown began at 3 minutes. Wang Yuan's hand began to turn to ice. Jin Yao An then shouted at him to let go of the hammer handle and help him take his hand away. The boy noticed that the warming berries did not help him. Then he asked if he hadn't eaten enough. Quickly taking out the warming berries, he began to shove them into his mouth with both hands. Jin Yao An and the priestess looked at each other anxiously. They were confused by Wang Yuan's behavior. The system reported that he had eaten 30 baked fire berries in a row and activated the fire trail minigame. For each additional berry, he increases his resistance to frost by 1 point. But his body will also get very hot. He had already eaten 30 berries, so he had gained 30% resistance to frost. Wang Yuan shouted that it worked. So there is a mechanism in Uranus that, when used repeatedly, will produce an additional effect. Wang Yuan shouted that he was lucky. The priestess remarked that it was so unexpected that he had thought of such a thing. Jin Yao An replied that he was good at games. The system informed him that he had already eaten 60 berries and was awarded the title of Fire Traveler. Jin Yao An asked if the boy was okay. He touched him and felt that he was very hot. He asked him if he was sure he wanted to continue because his body was literally on fire. Wang Yuan replied that they didn't have to worry about him. In order to get out of here, he would have to raise his frost resistance to 100%. Then Yao An said that he had more health, so maybe he would try. But Wang Yuan objected and reminded him that the game called it an endurance task, and he was not losing his health. Besides, Yao An will be much more useful when the wolves come. After all, he can probably feel the ground shaking under his feet. Another strong argument was that his fighting ability was superior, so this was the best arrangement. Jin Yao An had no choice but to agree. He said that they would cover Wang Yuan. The new notification said that it received 70% frost resistance. Jin Yao An continued to fight the wolves with his bare hands and no weapons. Little Hua Jin was dealing with 2 wolves at once when the system reported that his frost resistance was 80%. It seemed as if Wang Yuan might actually burst into flames at any moment. Concerned about his condition, the priestess called out to him and asked if he was okay. The guy looked around and said he was fine. He thought it was just a pain that was not worthy of attention. Suddenly, Wang Yuan screamed. The system reported that he had eaten 100 berries in a row. His body received an overheating effect. He received 100% resistance to frost. His movement speed and resistance to other attributes is 80%. There was a warning that further eating berries could lead to an explosion of his body. Hearing this, little Hua Zhan looked around and shouted to his brother in alarm. Quickly jumping up, Jin Yaoan shielded the boy from the wolves that rushed at him from both sides. He waved his hands on which the wolves were hanging and hit them hard on the ice. And then he slammed them against each other again, crossing their arms. Finally, after dealing with the wolves, he turned to the kid and reminded him that they had a different task now. He just needed to trust Wang Yuan. He was breathing heavily and sighing, but he was still standing. The guy grabbed the hammer and began to slowly get up and take steps forward. Looking at Wang Yuan, Yaoan said that in terms of determination, this guy will not lose to any of them. It voiced his every step. He heard that everything was fine, and he did it. Laughing, it said that he had replaced frostbite with burns and still managed to pick up the key. His determination is admirable. But why was he the only one who suffered all this? Is this fair? It told him to lower the hammer and then it would allow him to pass through the wall. And what about his friends? It laughed again and said that they were not worthy to be called his friends. Let them also feel his pain. Let them also earn the right to live. This will be fair. Wang Yuan said with a sly smile that he did not understand what it meant. He emphasized that it is also the boss and should understand why they exist in this world. Then, swinging his hammer with all his might, he slammed it into the wall and it began to crumble. The guy said that they exist to inspire players and move them forward. Suddenly, something threw him back and he fell hard on his back. When he stood up and looked around, he asked if he had really passed through the borders of the location. But there was no one around, so he asked again where the others were. Wang Yuan felt that someone appeared behind him and something started to happen. Wang Yuan looked back sharply and said through his teeth that this was not the end. As the head of the Firevine monster approached him, it called him Lord and said that they had not seen each other for a long time.